You know, in most role-playing games, Session 0 is a super exciting time. You get to think and dream about your character. Am I going to be a cleric? Am I going to be a rogue? Am I going to be a wizard? You get to roll your ability scores. You put them where you want. You get to buy some equipment. So, in Dungeon Crawl Classics, it doesn't really work that way. You know, player agency is a big deal in role-playing games. Getting to choose all that stuff is awesome. So, you know, when I tell you in Dungeon Crawl Classics, you don't get to choose a lot when you make your character, you're probably going to start to have some second thoughts about playing because, you know, you get to roll for everything. You don't get to choose a lot. Why am I playing this game? Because instead of character creation beginning and ending at Session 0, Session 0 is just the beginning. It's not the end of character creation. In fact, you know, the more you start to think about it, and after you create your character, you're going to be thinking, my character sucks. In Dungeon Crawl Classics, you're not going to just roll up one crappy character, you get to roll up 3 crappy characters. You're probably a little bit suspicious of that, aren't you? It's like when the Dungeon Master gives you a bunch of really awesome weapons or healing potions in the middle of a dungeon. You think to yourself, why am I getting all this stuff? And so you wouldn't be wrong by thinking the same thing here, because the fact of the matter is, all your characters, they're probably gonna die. So here's what you gotta think to yourself. If one of the characters that you create actually makes it through this opening adventure, then that character is actually a hero. This adventure that you go through in Dungeon Crawl Classics, it's like the prequel of the characters that you've rolled up in other adventures. Because a level 1 character is already by definition something a cut above his fellow citizens. In Dungeon Crawl Classics, you don't have any of that stuff. You begin at level 0. You are just a normal citizen in town. In this game, you're less likely to have this battle axe wielding dwarf and more likely to have a cudgel wielding dwarven apothecarist. What you're rolling for randomly is your character's occupation, which is a far cry from a class. If you survive the first adventure, that then lets you pick your character's class. But until that point, you're defined by what you did for a living, not by some heroic training that you have. But it's good because your occupation means that you have some kind of training. In this rule set, you don't roll a bunch of numbers and then decide where to place them. In this game, when you roll an ability score, it gets slotted into the ability scores in order. You might end up with a dwarven apothecarist who's very clever, but maybe so weak he can't even hold a weapon and a shield at the same time. It might turn out that way. Since you have a job, you've got a trade good that you can use to, trade or sell. Maybe you have a yard of linen or a spyglass, maybe even a pair of crutches. Doesn't that make you feel better? Remember, you're no hero. Virtually nothing you possess, materially or otherwise, is going to help you survive this adventure. But what if you do? Imagine the tales you'll have to tell. I know. You're thinking to yourself, there's no chance in hell my dwarven apothecarist is going to survive this adventure. And my backup character is a mendicant. Whatever that is. What chance do I have? Chance is the operative word because one of your ability scores is luck. And your luck score is going to impact some rolls you're going to have throughout the course of the game. This, of course, will be determined by chance, but your luck score could, for example, modify your saving throws, or it could modify your ability to cast a spell. Of course, if your luck score is really low... Now, let's talk about one other thing that your character gets. So in addition to your weapon you get from your occupation and your trade good, you also get a random piece of equipment. Here's something that might actually be helpful in this adventure. So you'll roll on a table. It might be a bundle of rope. Maybe it'll be a torch. Maybe it'll be the I know. Things look pretty grim for your character. But remember, you get 3 of them to play with. And this is something to think about, is that metagaming in the notion of you have 3 characters, that's how you play into this whole idea of player agency that we talked about earlier. There's going to be a bunch of them, right? And so maybe there's a door ahead of you that needs to be investigated. Or maybe there's a chest that needs to be opened. Well, somebody's got to do it, right? And if maybe you're thinking to yourself, I still don't know what this mendicant actually does, I'm just going to send him in there to open the door. And by doing so, maybe you save the life of your dwarven apothecarist because you kind of like him better. That's totally cool. That's how this game works. So player agency doesn't just exist within the character and how you play that character. It's kind of how you manipulate your little party of 3 characters. The opening adventure, this level 0 adventure that we're all going to go on, it's known as a funnel because we're going to have 15 characters to start with, and it's going to very quickly be funneled down to a much more manageable number. So here's the thing. In most games, session 0, create your character, got your backstory, off you go. But like I said, in Dungeon Crawl Classics, the character creation process begins at session 0, but it really extends through your first adventure. And if your character survives, now they've got something to tell. Now they've got a backstory. Now they're a hero, because your character is going to be lousy. So there actually is some player agency after all. Just understand that when it comes to character creation, it doesn't end at session 0. Nope. Session 0 is just the beginning.